And we have clearly gotten to that point.
Wait. Did you know that the state of Lincoln gets $50 billion out of these stimulus? No, I mean, how did you find out about it then?
Oh, it's all over the news. It's everyone. We all
Was it
do.
like online?
Oh yeah, it's all over online. What do you think the internet is for? Are you trying to play stupid?
You know, you really don't need to be so antagonistic.
Well, but we have watched what you've been doing here, and it's not fair.
The majority of the general public gets their information from the mass media without ever considering its credibility. But how do we know what we see and hear on the news is actually true? Hi, I'm Nicholas Coram.
And I'm John Lee, and this is Truth Be Told. So our goal in this video is to examine exactly how much power the media has over the information that we as the general public are allowed to hear. There are two types of media that control this. There's mass media and there's alternative media. The mass media is primarily funded by larger industries through paid advertisements, through commercials, and things of that sort. Because of this, newscasting companies that are owned by these larger industries are fairly limited on the information that they're allowed to collect and distribute. However, alternative media is fairly free. They are self-funded and have complete freedom over the information that they are allowed to collect and distribute. Because of this, they are free to distribute hard-hitting information that most larger companies would rather not have you hear. We've interviewed political analyst Peter Matthews to elaborate more on the subject.
The mass media in the United States is primarily corporate sponsored and funded, and that's where the biases come in. For example, when a company like General Electric owns a big media outlet, or Disney owns it, and also more importantly, who advertises on the corporate mass media during the news program, during the entertainment programs. That's how most of the revenue comes in, is through advertising, right? So quite often it's the case that the media will not want to alienate those who donate toward its revenue.
This newscast was brought to you and paid for by the following.
Let the memories begin at the place where dreams come true.
GE, we bring good things to life.
It's the Time Warner Cable Triple Play.
It's a bundle with more speed,
more entertainment,
More phone.
all for a whole lot less.
Corporate media is not adequate to create a fully informed citizenry in America. That's one reason many Americans are uninformed or underinformed about what's really going on in domestic policy as well as foreign. The American public has to be educated. For that we need not only alternative media, which is very minuscule in size unfortunately, the reach is very small in this country, Nation magazine, In These Times, a progressive magazine, those are all alternative, Mother Jones, but they're very small in outreach to people. We need a BBC type media.
Most of us read news in our everyday lives, but do we really know who or what is behind those words? There's a lot of alternative media sources out there. Sometimes, you may even find something quite surprising.
Check out the Cyprus Chronicle, a perfect example of an alternative media source. As you can see right here, they can show just about anything they want because they don't have these big corporations telling them what is appropriate and what's not.
We need a BBC type media on the electronic media, BBC channel like British Broadcasting Corporation. That's funded by the British government, it's funded by the British government, but it's not controlled by the British government. The Prime Minister cannot fire the BBC director, she can appoint him or her, and then they're in there for a long term of office, and she cannot fire or control what he decides to do on BBC. So the BBC generally puts out more points of view, and also is critical of government policy if it needs to be, or corporate policy, or in foreign policy it can go against the government's line, or it can be for it, depending on, and so I think there's a lot more freedom of analysis on a publicly funded, but not government controlled mass media, and therefore not corporate controlled either.
Though we imply the dangers of the media may actually play a big role in the lives of the people. Without the media, we wouldn't know of the events that go on in the world around us. Important state elections, for example, are widely broadcast in the media. Also, although the freedom the alternative media has allows them to produce those hard-hitting truths, companies such as these may at times be very biased. As the media is our only source for information, if the media cannot be trusted, then whom can we trust?
We have, just this tremendous connection to people across the globe, and you wonder just the outpouring of support that happens after that, and how much of that is because we're connected to it.
The media can be dangerous, but can also be crucial during times of crisis, bringing the world together when it needs the news most. When the media gets involved, our world becomes a lot smaller. Just looking at the widespread disaster relief efforts, such as 9/11 and the Japanese tsunami, tell us this. Technology today allows us to share such media almost instantly. With technology, news is just a click away, and the information you need to know most is much more accessible.
The media uses many propaganda tactics to twist and influence the public to believe what they say. For example, they target their information more towards the emotional side of things rather than actually targeting the information itself. You can see such propaganda tactics commonly in political campaigns and elections, for example. A lot of times, we can see candidates using the media to avoid talking about the more important subjects and focusing on the feel-good promises to sway public opinions and the emotions of the public. Media can also be seen talking mostly about the election status. They talk about who's winning or losing rather than focusing on the technical aspects of what each candidate will do for our country.
It's more that the media don't focus on the really vital issues that the voters want to hear about. The media instead focuses on the horse race aspect of the election quite often. It's like, who's winning? It's like a horse race, right? By how much? Who's endorsed whom? Which celebrity endorsed which candidate? And they go to superficial items as opposed to the meat and, well, I want to say the bread and butter issues that are important to the regular electorate. They should be asking a candidate, what is your position on, not what is your position on taxes, but how are you going to fund education? If you're talking about expanding funding for education, are you going to do it through higher taxes? If so, on whom? How much? Specifics should be asked by the news reporters. Instead, they come up with fluffy questions, and of course the candidates can come up with fluffy answers that are just feel-good answers and don't give a clear picture of where they're going, and so the public gets confused and doesn't vote.
However, as I stated in the main point, the mass media is not the only source of media that we can obtain our information from. There are many alternative media outlets that can deliver significant information that most mass media outlets won't be able to distribute to the public. The credibility of companies such as these can be hard to believe as well. Political analyst Peter Matthews and former journalist Mark Poser explained how they are able to distinguish truth from lies.
You just got to stop and think sometimes, does this make sense? Is it logical? And learn to do your own research in some cases. And, that's probably not a real good reflection on the news media, but I think it's an indication of the state that the news is in. I think, one of the things is just to check multiple sources. Generally speaking, CNN is reputable. Generally speaking, NPR is reputable, and Associated Press is reputable. So, if you're seeing something from one place but not seeing it from other places, I just don't rely on one source any longer.
Instead, many of our journalists today, they repeat what the candidate is saying without even checking it to see if it's true or not. They write it in the newspaper. He said this. Well, when he said it, was it true? Was it accurate? How does it square off with his other issue? That should be investigated by the reporter. But many journalists here are taught to be, in quote, objective, meaning don't get your hands too dirty in the story. Don't get it too involved as a journalist. Just report what they're saying and what they're doing. Does that serve the cause of democracy, to allow people to know really what the truth is and to make decisions based on facts and reasons and assessments of the accuracy of those candidates? Or are people left a bit confused because the reporter just repeats what the candidate says in the election without challenging it? You see what I'm saying?
No one can say for sure if what the media says is entirely safe for us to soak into our minds. The media can be dangerous to the untrained eye. Sometimes false information or half-truths slip through the cracks, giving people faulty opinions. And some mass media companies have ulterior motives.
However, one should not fear or turn a blind eye to the media because of this. As long as you're able to recognize who is behind the information and what sort of bias they might give, you are still able to obtain information from the media. Learn how to check your sources. Look for articles of the same story from different news hosts and check if the facts match up.
It's okay to be a skeptic, but make sure your skepticism is rooted in the facts. Don't limit yourself to one media source. Instead, try to broaden your horizon and keep an open mind. The public relies heavily on the media for information. Without the media, our knowledge of world events would be very limited. As American citizens, it is our obligation to know the events that go on in our country. Events like war, or a tsunami, or a war taking place in the middle of a tsunami during the perfect storm. The media is very powerful. It is commonly looked at as a definition of truth. Information is spoon-fed to the public, who then ingest the information without even thinking twice about what they're ingesting. Where do the facts come from? Have they been taken out of context or tweaked at all? Get to know the facts. Be careful. Make sure you do the research before you accept what you hear. And always, take everything with a grain of salt. Thanks for watching. This has been a Lacorum Productions film. And stay tuned for bloopers.
Alright, hi Dr. Florian. I came as John Lee Hooker, so here is a blues song as a gift to the class.
That'll be in our outtake. Outtake that in right there. Okay. What the? Wait, look at this. Pornographic demographic. Jersey Shore XXX. Whole friction.
Funded primarily by larger corporations then.
Alright, well, do you want to see that so far?
Alternative media is very free, while the mass media is very limited because of something.
Okay.
The information that they distribute are fairly hard-hitting and most are posting explain how they are distributed.
Public relax.
Never mind.
Our knowledge would be very limited.
Our knowledge of world events would be very limited.
It's just that line. Go. my god. Dude, you'll never guess what just happened. There's a freaking tsunami. What do you think about that?